Yeah, talking freedom and liberation. Worldwide, not just only for the nation. A radical guide, it's time to make changes. Bringing interviews and radical education. Yeah, a better future where we really...
Hello and welcome to A Radical Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Bayless. Last week, we took a little break to mark a special occasion. A Radical Guide just turned 6. Yes, 6 years of exploring, sharing, and diving deep into the stories and ideas of resistance and radical movements. I hope you all had a chance to take some time for yourselves as well, because, as we know, self-care is a revolutionary act in itself. During our break, some exciting things happened that I'm thrilled to share. First up, we got featured by Freedom Press. And for those who might be new to the scene, Freedom Press is one of the oldest anarchist publishing houses in the English-speaking world. They've been at the forefront of radical publishing since 1886, offering a platform for voices of dissent and a library of critical thought. Being recognized by them is truly an honor, and it resonates deeply with our mission here at A Radical Guide. And that's not all. The folks over at Epic Tomorrows, an incredible platform committed to systemic change and environmental activism, made a fantastic video. It's called The Top 10 Reasons to Support A Radical Guide. Their perspective is always insightful, and this video is no exception. It's a humbling and energizing reminder of why we do what we do. You can find the links to Freedom Press's feature and the Epic Tomorrow's video in our episode description. Be sure to check them out. As we turn to today's central theme, we venture into a topic at the core of anarchist and radical ideologies, the abolition of the state. This phrase isn't just a rallying cry. It's a window into the heart of anarchist philosophy and a symbol of resistance against forms of oppression and control. In today's episode, we'll explore this powerful slogan's rich history and varied interpretations. From its roots in anarchist thought to its contemporary relevance, we'll uncover how Smash the State encapsulates a deep-seated critique of hierarchical power structures and a vision for a society free from the shackles of state control. First, we'll journey back in time to understand the state's historical evolution. We'll start with the ancient Greek concept of the polis and the Roman res publica, leading up to the modern concept of the sovereign state. This historical overview will provide a foundation for understanding the state as a political and social entity, which has been a central point of contention in anarchist thought. In the second segment, we'll dive deep into the anarchist critique of the state. We'll discuss how anarchists view the state as an instrument of minority rule, exploring the role of institutions like the police, military, and judiciary in enforcing this control. We'll also examine the relationship between the state and capitalism, shedding light on how the state regulates exploitation and manages dissent. Next, we'll place anarchism within the broader spectrum of radical political thought. This segment will highlight the unique position of anarchism in advocating for a stateless society and critiquing hierarchical structures. We'll spotlight key anarchist thinkers and their contributions to the theory and practice of state resistance. Stay tuned as we embark on this fascinating journey into the heart of radical thought and action. Let's start by smashing some preconceived notions and uncovering the true essence of Smash the State.
Let's go!
Let's explore the historical evolution of the state. This exploration is key to understanding how the state has come to play such a central role in our political and social lives, a concept that's at the heart of anarchist critiques. Our first stop is ancient Greece, where the concept of the polis or city-state emerged. Here, the polis was more than a mere settlement. It uniquely blended culture, religion, economy, and politics. Thinkers like Plato and Aristotle engaged deeply with this concept. Aristotle, in particular, saw the polis as a crucible for moral development and communal autonomy. Moving to Rome, we see the evolution of the state into the res publica, or commonwealth. This wasn't just a change in nomenclature, but a profound shift in governance. The Roman legal system extended its reach over all citizens, laying down their rights and responsibilities. And in doing so, it laid the foundations for future ideas about law, citizenship, and governance. After the fall of the Roman Empire, Europe entered a period of fragmentation. Power was no longer centralized, leading to a power struggle among feudal lords. This chaos and struggle were formative in shaping early concepts of the state and sovereignty. In the 16th century, Niccolò Machiavelli, particularly through his work, The Prince, revolutionized the way we understand the state. He separated the concept of the state from the ruler, focusing on power and statecraft. Then, in France, philosopher Jean Bodin brought the concept of sovereignty to the forefront, advocating for centralized power. This was followed by Thomas Hobbes in the 17th century, who introduced the idea of the social contract in Leviathan, suggesting that the authority of the state arises from an agreement among its people. Hobbes viewed the state as a necessary mechanism to prevent life from devolving into chaos and hardship. As we move forward in time, we witness the emergence of nation states. These states were defined by a shared national identity, language, and culture. Alongside this development, we also see the rise of democracy, signaling a shift from monarchical and authoritarian regimes to systems where the people's will becomes paramount. This historical overview brings us full circle. From the Greek polis to the modern nation state, the state has always been central to discussions about power, governance, and societal organization. This backdrop is crucial for understanding the anarchist perspective that challenges the state's legitimacy and questions its role in human life. Anarchists perceive the state as a tool wielded by a minority to exert control over the majority. This control extends beyond politics, permeating the very fabric of society. In this view, the state is an entity that upholds and enforces the interests of the ruling class. This becomes particularly evident when examining institutions like the police and military. From an anarchist perspective, these institutions are not neutral protectors of societal well-being as often portrayed. Instead, they are seen as enforcers of a status quo that primarily benefits those in power. To understand this, let's consider how these institutions operate. The police, for instance, are often involved in enforcing laws that disproportionately impact marginalized communities. This can be seen in areas such as the criminal justice system, where statistics frequently reveal disparities in arrest and conviction rates based on race and class. Similarly, domestic and international military interventions are often critiqued for serving the ruling class's economic and geopolitical interests rather than the general population's genuine security needs. Furthermore, anarchists point to the role these institutions play in suppressing dissent. History is replete with examples where movements challenging the status quo, especially those advocating for significant social or economic changes, have been met with force by the police or military. This use of force to quell dissent underscores the argument that these institutions function to maintain existing power structures rather than to impartially uphold justice or security. The connection between the state and capitalism is a critical aspect of anarchist criticism. Anarchists argue that the state plays a fundamental role in sustaining and bolstering capitalist structures. This is achieved through a variety of means, most notably the creation and enforcement of laws and regulations that directly impact labor relations and property rights. These laws and regulations are often crafted in ways that disproportionately benefit capitalist interests. To unpack this idea, consider the state's influence on labor relations. Examples are laws regarding minimum wage, working hours, unionization rights, and workplace safety. While these laws can sometimes provide protections for workers, anarchists argue that they are often designed to limit the power of labor in favor of capital. For instance, strict union laws can prevent workers from organizing effectively to demand better wages and conditions, thereby maintaining a more compliant workforce and less costly for businesses. Property rights are another crucial area. The state defines and enforces what constitutes property and who has access to and control over these resources. Anarchists point out that property laws typically favor those with wealth and resources, allowing them to accumulate more at the expense of those with less. This can be seen in how land ownership laws work, or how intellectual property laws often benefit large corporations over individual creators or smaller communities. Moreover, the state's role in managing the economy further cements its relationship with capitalism. The state can manipulate economic conditions to favor capitalist enterprises through taxation, subsidies, and bailouts. For example, large corporations often receive significant tax breaks or financial support from the state, which small businesses or individuals rarely get. Anarchists see the relationship between the state and capitalism as inherently exploitative because it perpetuates a system where wealth and power are concentrated in the hands of a few, while the majority are left with limited means to improve their economic standing. This systemic inequality is maintained through the state's legal and regulatory frameworks, making the state a guardian of the capitalist order rather than a neutral entity working for the equal benefit of all. Anarchists challenge the common perception that the state acts as a neutral societal entity. They argue that the state often significantly reinforces and perpetuates societal inequalities and power imbalances. This critique goes beyond specific policies or laws. It encompasses the very structure of the state itself, including its evolution into what we now know as the nation state. The nation state is a political organization characterized by a shared national identity among its population, combining the concept of a nation with the legal and political structure of a sovereign state. It has defined territorial boundaries, a centralized government, and a common culture and identity. While the nation state became the dominant form of state organization after the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648, anarchists view it as a modern construct that consolidates state control through the promotion of a unified national identity, language, and culture. Unifying a diverse population under a single national identity can marginalize or exclude groups not fitting into the dominant narrative. National identity often justifies policies favoring certain ethnic or cultural groups and disadvantaging others. For instance, language policies might prioritize one language, affecting the ability of minority language speakers to access services and participate in society fully. Often embodied in state policies, cultural norms and values can marginalize lifestyles or belief systems that deviate from the mainstream. Moreover, the state's role in dictating societal norms and values frequently disadvantages marginalized groups. This can manifest in various areas, from a criminal justice system that disproportionately targets specific groups to economic policies that widen wealth and class disparities. Through this lens, the nation state is seen not merely as a political entity, but as a tool for imposing a specific set of norms and values on a diverse population. This often maintains the existing power structures, keeping authority in the hands of dominant groups while excluding or oppressing those who do not align with the prescribed national identity. In the view of anarchists, the state represents a significant obstacle to achieving genuine freedom and social emancipation. Its hierarchical structure, with power concentrated at the top, inherently restricts individual autonomy and collective self-determination. This is not just about the imposition of laws and regulations. It's about how the state, through its various mechanisms, shapes and limits the possibilities for individuals and communities to govern themselves. Anarchists advocate for a radical restructuring of society. They propose replacing top-down state governance with grassroots, decentralized forms of organization. This vision involves self-governing communities operating through principles of direct democracy and mutual aid. In such a society, decisions are made collectively at the local level, ensuring that the needs and voices of all members are considered. Moreover, anarchists emphasize the importance of voluntary association. This is a form of social organization where individuals freely choose to cooperate and collaborate, forming networks and communities based on shared interests and goals rather than being coerced into certain relationships by state mandates. The idea is to create a society where power is decentralized and distributed in such a way that each individual and community has genuine agency and autonomy. This contrasts sharply with the current state-centric model, where power is often exercised in a top-down manner with little genuine participation or control from the grassroots level. The anarchist critique of the state is a profound and comprehensive challenge to the established notions of governance and societal organization. It represents a rejection of specific political systems and broader structures and concepts, including the nation state that underpins modern governance. This critique is deeply rooted in the belief that true freedom and social change cannot be achieved within the confines of the current state system. Anarchists argue that the state, by its very nature, perpetuates power imbalances, suppresses individual autonomy, and maintains societal norms and values that benefit the dominant groups at the expense of marginalized ones. At the core of the anarchist vision is the idea of a world where power is decentralized and fundamentally reimagined. It's a vision of autonomous, self-governing communities and organized around principles of mutual aid and voluntary association. In such a world, individual freedoms are not just protected, they are actively fostered, with each person having a real stake in their community and the power to shape their own lives. The phrase smashing the state is often heard in anarchist circles, but its meaning extends far beyond the literal sense of destruction. It represents a fundamental aspect of anarchist philosophy and strategy, embodying the desire to dismantle oppressive systems and replace them with more equitable and decentralized forms of governance and social organization. At its core, smashing the state is about challenging and ultimately dismantling the hierarchical structures of power that are inherent in the state apparatus. Anarchists argue that the state, by its very nature, is coercive and authoritarian, regardless of its form. The concept is rooted in the belief that all individuals should be free to govern themselves and make decisions affecting their lives, free from external authorities imposing their will. The idea is not about causing chaos or promoting disorder. Instead, it's about critically examining and disassembling the systems and structures that uphold state power. This involves questioning the state's legitimacy and its right to exercise power over individuals and communities. Smashing the state also involves constructing new, more equitable ways of organizing society. This includes developing systems based on mutual aid, voluntary cooperation, and direct democracy. Anarchists envision a society where decision-making is decentralized and communities are organized based on principles of equality and solidarity without needing a centralized, coercive state. As we dive deeper into understanding smashing the state, this phrase isn't just about rejecting a political system. It's about envisioning a radical transformation of society where unjust hierarchies are dismantled and individuals and communities have the autonomy to govern their lives without state interference. This concept is a cornerstone of anarchist thought, representing a profound critique of existing political and social structures and a proactive approach to creating a more just and free society. A deep-seated critique of hierarchical structures of power and authority lies at the heart of smashing the state. Anarchists argue that the state, in all its forms, inherently wields power in a coercive and authoritarian manner. Mikhail Bakunin, a prominent figure in anarchist thought, eloquently captures this sentiment by stating, "The state is the most flagrant, the most cynical, and the most complete negation of humanity." In our exploration of smashing the state, understanding historical events is key. These moments in history not only exemplify the state's coercive nature, but also reinforce the urgency of the anarchist critique. Imagine Paris in the aftermath of war, where a revolutionary government, the Paris Commune, rises. This was a bold experiment in social organization driven by the working class seeking a more equitable society. The Commune implemented progressive policies, challenging the traditional structures of power. But this experiment was short-lived. The French government, viewing the Commune as a direct threat to its authority, responded with overwhelming force. In a tragic week of bloodshed, known as the Bloody Week, thousands of communards were killed. This brutal suppression serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which a state will go to maintain its power and suppress alternative forms of governance. Fast forward to the turn of the 21st century, when a new wave of dissent rises against the forces of globalization. The anti-globalization movement, comprising diverse groups, took a stand against institutions like the WTO, the IMF, and the World Bank. Their protests highlighted concerns about environmental degradation, labor rights, and national sovereignty. A key moment was the 1999 Seattle WTO protests. Here, activists faced a state response characterized by a show of force. The use of tear gas and rubber bullets against protesters in Seattle drew global attention, spotlighting the state's readiness to use violence against peaceful assembly and free speech. Both the Paris Commune and the anti-globalization protests are potent illustrations of the state's tendency to quash dissent and alternative forms of social organization. They echo the anarchist assertion that the state inherently resorts to coercive measures to uphold its authority and suppress challenges to the status quo. These historical examples are not just footnotes in history. They are vivid reminders of the ongoing struggle against oppressive power structures. They reinforce the importance of questioning, challenging, and ultimately transforming these structures, a core tenet of smashing the state. Central to anarchist critique is the idea of self-governance. This isn't just about opposing the state, it's about a profound advocacy for autonomy and collective decision making. Emma Goldman, a name synonymous with anarchism, passionately articulated this concept. She believed that individual instinct and energy are forces too natural and powerful to suppress. Her words echo the anarchist trust in the ability of individuals and communities to self organize, to create a society that truly reflects their needs and values. But how does this idea of self governance manifest in real life? It's not an abstract theory, it's about tangible ways of living and decision making. Imagine a society where decisions aren't handed down from above but made collectively at the grassroots. This is direct democracy in action, people having a direct say in the matters that affect their daily lives. History offers us examples. Think back to the Spanish Civil War, to the anarchist collectives in Catalonia. Here, distant authorities did not control industries and farms, but were self managed by those who worked them. It was a living, breathing example of how society could function on mutual aid and consensus principles. And today, this spirit of self governance lives on. From cooperative businesses to community gardens, we see people coming together and making decisions based on mutual respect and shared responsibility. Emma Goldman's vision was expansive. She saw freedom not just in political terms, but as a holistic concept, encompassing gender equality, economic justice, and the freedom to express oneself. Her influence extends beyond the realm of political organization, inspiring a broader vision of what a just and equitable society could look like. But of course, reimagining society on these lines is challenging. It requires us to rethink our power, authority, and community views. Yet, this vision's potential for a more equitable, just, and free society is compelling. It's a radical reimagining of societal organization where autonomy and cooperative living are ideals and realities. This vision of self governance, deeply rooted in anarchist philosophy, invites us to explore the possibilities of a world where oppressive structures are dismantled and communities thrive on the principles of mutual respect and cooperation. Anarchists have long questioned the very foundation upon which state power is built. Their critique is not just about specific policies or actions, but a fundamental challenge to the state's right to exercise power and authority over individuals. Pierre-Joseph Proudhon, a pioneering figure in anarchist thought, captured this sentiment vividly. He described being governed as an experience of constant surveillance and control, questioning the moral and ethical basis of such authority. Pierre-Joseph Proudhon wrote in What is Property? To be governed is to be watched, inspected, spied upon, directed, law-driven, numbered, regulated, enrolled, indoctrinated, preached at, controlled, checked, estimated, valued, censured, commanded by creatures who have neither the right, nor the wisdom, nor the virtue to do so. To be governed is to be at every operation, at every transaction noted, registered, counted, taxed, stamped, measured, numbered, assessed, licensed, authorized, admonished, prevented, forbidden, reformed, corrected, punished. This is government. That is its justice. That is its morality. His famous declaration paints a picture of governance as an intrusive and overbearing force, one that is out of touch with the needs and rights of individuals. This critique has deep historical roots, but it's strikingly relevant today. Modern states, despite their democratic facades, often grapple with questions of legitimacy. This is especially apparent amidst growing social and economic disparities, where the decisions and actions of the state seem to increasingly benefit a select few at the expense of the many. The legitimacy of the state is further challenged by instances of political corruption, misuse of power, and the erosion of civil liberties. These issues bring into sharp focus the anarchist argument that the state, in its pursuit of maintaining order and authority, often ends up perpetuating systems of inequality and injustice. In the modern context, the rise of surveillance technologies has given this critique a new dimension. The state's capability to monitor and control has reached unprecedented levels, raising serious concerns about privacy and individual freedom. Anarchists view this as a stark manifestation of Proudhon's critique. They argue that the state's surveillance apparatus is a clear example of how the governing bodies exert control far beyond what is necessary or ethical, infringing on personal liberties and autonomy. As mentioned earlier, But to reinforce it here, economic policies and the widening gap between the wealthy and the poor also play a crucial role in this discussion. Anarchists point to how state policies often favor big corporations and the wealthy elite, suggesting that the state's role in perpetuating economic inequality undermines its legitimacy. This is seen in the state's role in bailing out large banks and corporations while neglecting the needs of the working class and the poor, echoing the anarchist assertion that the state serves the interests of the powerful, not the people. In challenging the state's legitimacy, anarchists invite us to examine the principles upon which modern governance is built critically. They ask us to consider whether the state, in its current form, truly serves the interests of all its citizens or merely upholds a system that benefits a privileged few. This critique is a call to envision new forms of social organization that are more equitable, just, and truly democratic. Having explored how anarchists challenge the state's legitimacy, critiquing its claim to serve all while often benefiting only a few, we now turn to a crucial aspect of how anarchism proposes to enact change. If the state in its current form fails to achieve true democracy and equality, what alternatives do anarchists offer? This brings us to the concept of direct action, a pivotal practice within anarchism that seeks to create change not through the state, but through the direct involvement and action of individuals and communities. Direct action stands at the forefront of the anarchist endeavor. It embodies a belief that real change can be initiated at the grassroots level by ordinary people. Now, we're going to explore how direct action operates as a tool for anarchists, not just in protesting what is wrong, but in actively building what they believe is right. Direct action is action taken by individuals or groups to achieve political or social goals through immediate, often unconventional means. It bypasses traditional channels like elections or lobbying, favoring direct, often visible interventions. This includes everything from strikes and sit-ins to establishing community gardens or alternative housing projects. It's about actively making change happen. In the past, direct action has been a powerful tool in social and political movements. The early labor movement strikes and factory occupations, for instance, were direct actions that demanded rights and better conditions. More recently, movements like Occupy Wall Street and environmental protests have used direct action to highlight critical issues, such as economic inequality and climate change, pushing these topics into the public eye. In anarchist philosophy, direct action is more than protest. It's a means of enacting the society anarchists strive for. When anarchists establish a community cooperative or housing collective, they are not just meeting a need, they are demonstrating viable alternatives to state and capitalist systems, modeling the change they wish to see. Of course, direct action comes with its challenges. It requires significant resources and can face strong resistance from authorities. Moreover, it can be divisive, raising questions of tactics and effectiveness. Critics argue that it can lead to confrontation and alienate potential allies. Yet, supporters see direct action as urgent and necessary, bringing visibility to issues often ignored by conventional advocacy. Direct action is an essential expression of anarchist principles. Whether through public protests, community projects, or living defiantly against norms, direct action represents a commitment to actively participating in societal transformation. It embodies the anarchist principle of building the new in the shell of the old. Having explored how direct action is a vital practice in anarchist philosophy, where individuals take control and enact change, we naturally move to another key aspect: building alternative structures. Anarchists are not only focused on what needs to be dismantled, they are deeply invested in what comes after. This is where the concept of smashing the state intertwines with constructing new, more equitable ways of living and organizing society. Anarchism envisions a new societal framework, one that is grounded in cooperation, mutual aid, and horizontal organization. As we explore how anarchists actively build these alternative structures, it's important to recognize that each step in this direction is a step towards smashing the state. It's a process of creating tangible manifestations of anarchist ideals, setting up spaces and systems that operate on principles of equality, collective decision-making, and mutual support. Building alternative structures is about more than just providing services or meeting needs. It's about demonstrating viable alternatives to the state and capitalist systems. This includes everything from community cooperatives to independent education systems and eco villages. Each of these structures is a brick in the construction of a new society, one that is based on the foundations of autonomy and cooperation rather than hierarchical power. These structures are not just theoretical models, they are real, lived experiences. They serve as practical examples of how society can function without centralized authority. They are places where people come together to manage resources, share knowledge, and support each other, embodying the anarchist principle of building the new in the shell of the old. Such initiatives have a dual purpose. While they meet immediate community needs, they also demonstrate that alternative ways of organizing society are not only possible but viable. These spaces often become hubs of innovation, where new ideas on governance, economics, and social interaction are tested and refined. In essence, the process of building alternative structures is a practical manifestation of smashing the state. It's not just about opposition or destruction, it's about construction, about building a new world on the principles of equality, autonomy, and collective care. As these structures develop and expand, they bring us closer to the realization of a society that truly embodies anarchist ideals. As we've seen, building alternative structures is a key strategy in the anarchist playbook, a way of constructing a new world within the framework of the old. But how do these structures fit into the larger context of challenging and ultimately transforming the existing social and political order? This brings us to the concept of dual power, a critical notion in anarchist thought that bridges the gap between the present state and the envisioned anarchist society. Dual power refers to the development of alternative, autonomous social structures that coexist with and ultimately challenge the existing state and capitalist systems. It's about creating parallel systems of power that offer a real alternative to the status quo. Let's explore how this concept plays out in practice and its significance in the broader anarchist movement. Dual power is rooted in the idea that change doesn't have to be a distant dream, it can be enacted here and now. This involves establishing institutions and organizations that operate according to anarchist principles, directly challenging the legitimacy and functionality of traditional state structures. Throughout history, there have been numerous instances of dual power in action. From worker cooperatives and community councils to independent media and education initiatives, these structures provide tangible alternatives to the existing societal systems. They're not just about opposing what is, they're about showcasing what could be. In the strategy of dual power, these parallel structures are more than just safe havens or alternative communities. They are tools of resistance and transformation. By successfully operating outside the conventional state framework, they demonstrate the feasibility and desirability of a decentralized, self-governed society. The concept of dual power is thus a critical element in the journey towards smashing the state. It embodies the spirit of direct action and the construction of alternative structures, culminating in a powerful strategy for societal change. As these dual systems gain strength and influence, they challenge the existing power dynamics, paving the way for a radical transformation of society. As we transition from the concept of dual power into the realm of cultural and societal change, it's crucial to underline a key aspect of the anarchist vision. This change isn't about homogenizing culture or enforcing a single way of being. Quite the opposite. Anarchism cherishes and embraces the diversity of cultural traditions. It's about creating a society where multiple cultural expressions are not only respected but valued for their unique contributions. Let's explore how the anarchist movement envisions and fosters this rich tapestry of cultural plurality. Anarchism advocates for a societal transformation that goes beyond the physical creation of alternative structures. This transformation is deeply rooted in the cultural and social fabric of society. Anarchism seeks to influence and reshape societal norms and values, but not by imposing uniformity. Instead, it aims to create a mosaic of cultural expressions, each valued and given space to flourish. Cultural and societal change in anarchism is about challenging traditional norms and values that perpetuate hierarchy and oppression. However, this challenge is not about creating a monolithic culture. It's about fostering an environment where diverse cultural traditions coexist, respecting each other's space and contributions. Anarchists engage in cultural initiatives that reflect this diversity. From alternative media to art collectives, these endeavors are not about creating a singular anarchist culture, but about providing platforms for a variety of voices and perspectives. These initiatives serve to spread ideas of mutual aid, cooperation, and respect for autonomy across different cultural contexts. Societal change, from this perspective, is also about nurturing a sense of community that transcends cultural boundaries. It's about building networks of cooperation and solidarity that are inclusive and supportive of all cultural identities, countering the divisive and competitive ethos often seen in current societal structures. Cultural and societal change in anarchism is as diverse as it is profound. It's about embedding the principles of anarchism in a way that honors and celebrates cultural diversity. Through these changes, anarchists envision a society where mutual respect, cooperation, and celebrating cultural diversity are ideals and the foundations of everyday life. Exploring the depths of cultural and societal change within anarchism, we arrive at a crucial juncture: the interplay between global solidarity and local action. This concept is integral to the anarchist ethos. It acknowledges that while our actions may start locally, they echo in a global chorus. Let's examine how anarchists intertwine grassroots initiatives with a commitment to international solidarity, highlighting the interconnectedness of our struggles. Anarchism places a strong emphasis on local action, the idea that meaningful change begins in our own communities. Yet, this local focus doesn't exist in a vacuum. Anarchists are acutely aware that the challenges we face are not confined by borders. They are part of a global narrative, necessitating a solidarity that crosses geographical and cultural divides. Local action in anarchism tackles immediate community specific issues. This can range from establishing community gardens to organizing local protests. These initiatives are deeply rooted in the specific needs and contexts of each community, reflecting direct grassroots involvement. However, these local actions are often mirrors of broader global issues. Anarchists actively work to forge connections between local efforts and global movements. By sharing knowledge and resources, they create a web of solidarity that spans continents and cultures. We see this global solidarity in various movements. Environmental activism, labor struggles, and social justice campaigns often find resonance and support across the world, reinforcing the notion that while our struggles may be local, their implications are global. The harmony between local action and global solidarity in anarchism is about addressing the needs of one's community while contributing to a collective, worldwide struggle. It's an acknowledgement that each community's pursuit of autonomy is part of a larger fight against shared challenges. The anarchist approach of global solidarity and local action is about nurturing change in our neighborhoods while being part of a broader social and ecological justice movement that transcends borders. From our exploration of global solidarity and local action, we move to a critical aspect of anarchist practice: the challenges and real-world applications. It's crucial to recognize that while the ideals of anarchism are compelling, their implementation is not without obstacles. In this segment, we will explore the practical challenges faced in actualizing anarchist principles, as well as how these principles have been applied in various contexts around the world. In bringing anarchist ideas to life, activists and communities encounter a range of challenges. From logistical hurdles to opposition from established power structures, these challenges test the resilience and adaptability of anarchist principles. Alongside these difficulties, we will also dive into how these principles have been applied in real-world situations, providing a nuanced understanding of anarchism in action. Implementing anarchist ideals often involves navigating complex social, political, and economic landscapes. Challenges can include resistance from state and capitalist institutions, internal disagreements within anarchist groups, and practical difficulties in sustaining alternative community structures. These challenges are not merely obstacles, but also opportunities for learning and adaptation. Despite these challenges, numerous examples of anarchist principles are successfully applied. From the self-organized communities in Chiapas, Mexico, inspired by the Zapatista movement, to the worker-run factories in Argentina following the economic crisis, these examples demonstrate the viability of anarchist approaches to social and economic organization. The Zapatista movement, for instance, has created autonomous municipalities that operate independently of the Mexican state, with their own education, healthcare, and justice systems. In Argentina, workers took over factories abandoned by their owners, running them collectively and making decisions through assemblies. These real world applications showcase anarchist principles, resilience, and adaptability to different contexts and challenges. As we conclude today's exploration of the phrase smash the state, we've traversed the rich historical landscape and explored the profound philosophical roots that fuel anarchist and radical ideologies. This journey has revealed how a simple slogan transcends mere rhetoric to embody a profound critique of hierarchical power and a vision for a liberated society. We've examined the origins of this powerful call to action, from its early expressions in anarchist thought to its evolution and relevance in contemporary movements. Our discussion highlighted the philosophical underpinnings of the desire to dismantle oppressive structures and the practical applications of these ideals in real-world contexts. From the historical roots of the state concept and the anarchist critique of state power to the innovative practices of direct action and the creation of alternative structures, we've seen how Smash the State encapsulates a comprehensive blueprint for societal transformation. It's clear that Smash the State is more than just a slogan. It's a living testament to the enduring struggle for freedom and justice. It challenges us to question, imagine, and act toward the realization of a world where power is decentralized, communities thrive on mutual aid and cooperation, and individuals live freely without the shadow of state control. As we carry forward the lessons and inspirations from this exploration, let us remain committed to the ideals of autonomy, equality, and solidarity. The path of resistance is complex and challenging, yet it is illuminated by the collective vision of a better future, a future we can build together through our actions and beliefs.
A radical guide, that's what this is, highlighting the diverse world of resistance.
As we draw today's discussion to a close, there's an important event we want all our listeners to mark in their calendars. On February 16th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, join us for the Mobilizing Change, General Strike US's panel. This pivotal panel will explore the comprehensive and critical demands of General Strike US, focusing on essential issues like social justice and environmental sustainability. Our conversation will illuminate how the coalition drives and inspires collective action, exploring the strategic methods employed to mobilize communities and champion diverse goals. We'll dive into the coalition's organizing principles and the power of collaboration, demonstrating how unity and concerted efforts are crucial for fostering progress and enacting lasting change. Make sure not to miss it. You'll find the link in the description. Before we sign off, a heartfelt thank you to our Patreon supporters. Your contributions fuel our journey and make a Radical Guides mission possible. Special shout outs to a Radical supporter, Juniper, community supporters like Michael DK, and a Radical influencers Tara Ingram, Karen B., and Tatiana Tilley. Your support is the backbone of this platform. For those who are not yet supporters but value what a Radical Guide stands for, remember you can now join for free. While paying members play a crucial role in keeping a Radical Guide thriving, every bit of support counts. To become a part of our support network, check out the link to our Patreon in the description. Together, we're not just building a community, we're igniting change.
Radical education, yeah, a better future, what we really need, not rooted in capitalism or supremacy.
Our journey doesn't end here. The discussions we've had today are just the beginning, a spark to ignite deeper explorations and actions in our own lives and communities. Anarchism, with its rich tapestry of ideas and practices, offers us tools and visions for a world based on autonomy, mutual aid, and solidarity. As we move forward, let's carry with us the inspirations from today's discussions. Let's be motivated by the stories of resistance and resilience from around the globe, and let's remember the importance of every small action we take toward building a more just and equitable world. Thank you for joining us on a Radical Podcast. Your engagement and support make this journey possible. We look forward to continuing this exploration with you, diving into more stories, strategies, and insights that challenge us to think differently and act boldly. Remember, the revolution starts with us, in our communities, in our actions, and in our hearts. Until next time, keep resisting, keep imagining, and remember, follow ideas, not people.
Yeah, talking freedom and liberty. liberation. Worldwide, not just only for the nation. A radical guide, it's time to make changes. Bringing interviews and radical education. Yeah, a better future, what we really need. Not rooted in capitalism or supremacy. Yeah, trust, you don't want to miss it. We bring the truth right to you, the past, present, and future. Let's go. A radical guide, that's what this is. Highlighting the diverse world of resistance. Let's go.